Welcome, everyone. You're listening to How We Heal the podcast. I'm Kir Noel, medical intuitive, your host. Our sponsor is the medicinebuddhawithin.com, intuitive training for all. Check out their website and be registered to be invited to all the upcoming trainings. Now let's begin our show. Welcome and thank you for being here. This is How We Heal the podcast. I'm Kir Noel. Today, my guest is Lea Garnier. She is the executive director of Sage Academy of Sound. I have been in several events that she offered, teaching me glass bowls and the incredible sounds they make and the magic that happens when you're listening. She brings a clear message of healing and energy flow. In my experience, I have changed. This inner alignment in me shifted when I got to sit and have this experience with Lea. So I wanted to ask her to be on the podcast today. She will talk to us about how she got to be in the field and the work she does and bring her own energy to it. You know, I've been to sound healings in the past. I've been to Hans in New York City. And I've never been transformed by them. But when I was with Lea in her studio and also at Menla for a retreat, I was transformed. So I keep coming back for more. Welcome, Lea.
Thank you. That was such a beautiful opening. I had no idea you were feeling that way.
Yeah, I did get it for sure. And I'm sure that you have some inner personal alignment to be able to bring what I get.
Well, it's interesting that you phrase it that way because I could talk a lot about this, but I think that what I've come to right now to realize is that if we're centered and aligned, we become the tuning fork. It kind of doesn't even matter what kind of sound you're making, if that makes sense. It can be really dissonant. It could be whatever it wants to be. But in the end of the day, I think that it's the person delivering, the thing that we need to find stillness, right? So it could be a sound, it could be, anything really. Yep, that brings us stillness. We don't have to focus on the thing itself, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I was just looking at something this morning, which is a little relatable to this, how the vagal nerve in the body responds to meditation and humming. Then that thing in us that pumps our heart and activates our lungs, keeps us alive, is responsive to sound vibration that we make in our own throats. So humans are incredibly sound machines. We're sound machines.
We
A tuning.
definitely are. Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about your journey to be in the field you're in. Did you have like fabulous family that said she should just be you, Lea, we love you? Or did it take a while?
And it is funny. I definitely was raised that way. Yeah, I was raised in a family that in the 60s, 70s where it was very open and a lot of big family full of brothers and sisters and mom and dad who were very open to the times. Really let go of their repressed 50s upbringing, and it was really something. It was really fun. To grow up in my family, there was a lot of music, a lot of dancing, and the '60s were just an amazing and incredible time, right? Of opening in the States, right, and kind of worldwide. I was, at the tail end of that or in the middle of that. I mean, I was definitely immersed in music, but I'm not a musician. I learned how to play the guitar like 3 chords when I was 12 years old,
Wow.
and but it's not like, I still have that guitar. My dad bought that for me when I was 12 years old. Like I said, from Sears and Roebuck. It's really a really amazing guitar, and I still have it. But I've lent it out over the years to lots of musicians, and so I don't know where it is right now. I mean, I kind of know, but anyway. I never would. What I'm trying to say is that it wasn't something that I played all the time and developed myself as that kind of an artist. In fact, I went into the visual arts. I, actually have a background in painting, and was selling paintings for a living for a while. I became a cranial sacral therapist, and that evolved due to an accident that I had in New York City, and
Do you want to share a little bit about the accident?
I was in a taxi cab accident and, it was pretty bad. I mean, I wasn't really too physically hurt, whiplash and things like that, but enough where I couldn't really work. So I just really had to dial it down, and I was getting chiropractic sessions, and I had a cranial sacral session from my neighbor who was also a therapist, and also the first person I ever saw using, the big frosted crystal bowls, which
Oh,
you did that
interesting.
workshop. Yeah, we very interesting, and he was my neighbor downstairs. His name was Graham Bass, and, when he was working on me doing cranial sacral therapy, he would touch me, and I would smell my mother's Aquanet hairspray come out of my arm.
So it was healing.
Well, it was because just in the sense it really led me to the understanding of how we somatize our emotions, because when you're 6 years old and your mom has to go to work and she's spraying that hairspray to get ready, and you're, like, going, "Mom, no, stay," or whatever, the feelings of, you just want your mom to be around, but she was a working mom. I had that emotion and it came out like it was in my tissue, right? The issues are always in our tissues, we like to say.
Yes, always.
But I never thought I would be smelling that memory.
That's interesting.
I think that's also called synesthesia when your senses sort of mix things up like that. Like you can, see color when you hear a sound and so forth. And I definitely have that. So anyway, that really caught me up, and I did study and became a practitioner, and I've been doing that since the 90s. So
So where are you in the world now? Where are you living when you're doing that?
I'm in Woodstock, New
Oh, you're
York.
in Woodstock. What did you grow up here or somewhere else?
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean where did I practice? That was happening in New York City. I grew up in Buffalo, New York.
Okay, Buffalo. Great.
Yeah, and I went to school in New York City, actually for fashion. I went to FIT, and I was in the fashion business for quite a number of years, and then it segued into the art world. I worked for, George Condo in Paris and New York, and then, yeah, made my way up here, with my ex-husband, whose son was living up here with his mom, and, we all wanted to be closer family unit, so we basically got, rid of the whole New York City scene and haven't looked back.
How long ago was that, Leah,
Oh gosh.
when you
Uh,
moved up here?
it was, when was, 9/11? It was actually that year. When?
1?
Yeah.
2001. I moved here then too.
I mean, we were very lucky to find anything, right? Because it was
We were. We got here before the rush with, that has happened up here.
well, there was a rush then too, as these things
There
always.
was a lot of yes, we were all escaping New York. Yes.
Well, we had been looking before that, and we definitely found, really great fixer-upper, so that was a blessing. I've loved it ever since. We came up here and we were painting, and I opened up this office upstairs, which you've been to, which is the sound studio, and it was my craniosacral space. And then my ex-husband, Philippe, wanted to, open some kind of a healing center. We had been doing, and I'm telling you how we came to the sound, because we had been doing some ceremony work up here with a group of people where
Were
we
they like
were.
breathworks or something, or what would you mean by ceremony work?
They were more plant medicine ceremonies.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
South
um,
American, like,
yes,
correct? Okay,
yes,
okay.
Peruvian.
I've heard of and been offered that, but haven't done that yet.
Well, you really only do that if you have to do it, and, I felt like, I really wanted to get in touch with something, a lot deeper into the subconscious that I couldn't see, I don't know, and the plants, they just start to call you anyway, it really is something that you're called to do somehow. I was, and didn't stay in that world too long, but enough to receive something so amazing that I couldn't even believe it, which was the experience of how sound, just a drone sound, can affect our emotional, physical, spiritual bodies. So I heard a Himalayan singing bowl. Those are the metal bowls that they were being played there was a swami in the group. And in ceremony, sometimes you're really affected by the energy of the person sitting across from you, and he happened to be sitting across from me, and he played this bowl. I had the experience of my heart just bursting open with love.
Mhm.
Like, how can a sound do that? How I couldn't even believe that. I just couldn't even, and I didn't even know what a Himalayan bowl was. I had no idea. And I was also having other experiences with the medicine songs that the doctor, would be singing, and they're called ikeros, and they're given by the plants, and they're kind of amazing too because they take you places, very deep inside your memories, and they wake up.
Mhm.
And sometimes they're ancestral, and sometimes they're even lifetimes ago. I was having all kinds of experiences like that, and then basically the plants just told me who I was. And this is going to sound kind of crazy, but they did say to me, you're, I'll just say, a healer type.
A healer type, okay.
But then I was shown, like, in pictures, like, many, many, many lifetimes of being in that role and in different areas in different ways. That's a lot to get if we're asking, "Who am I?" In all of it. So
That's interesting. So you had, I would call a past life memory, right? A past life memory.
yeah, 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 many.
Many. I've had them too, and I've found them to be the most influential things in my life.
Yeah, very healing, right? Because then you get a sense of why you are who you are in this lifetime,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
there's a connection. Yeah, I had one. So so you had this experience that was so strong and powerful. Now and so did you change from did you move away from craniosacral work? Did you add this piece or and incorporate both, or how did that
Oh, yeah.
change?
I mean, that was it, like, because also Philippe was having the same experiences in his own way around sound and being shown things, and not just him, but all of us in those early days. This was about, 15, 20 years ago when that happened, and so, we were he wanted to open the space. It was before that, but we were drawing, like, kind of just like, channelers and things like that, and we weren't too crazy about that kind of. I mean, it was great channeling, don't get me wrong, love it, but when we were having the experiences of that with the sound, we knew that that was the direction that the center had to take. So we also knew that there would be pioneers in this field, and so we went and started looking for them, and we found Dr. John Bollier, who lives just, like, in our backyard. He's the
Wow.
creator of the, tuning fork.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, the
Amazing.
biosonic tuning forks, and he's just amazing. He's just amazing, and so we approached him to see if he would be interested in doing, a retreat. We wanted to create a platform for sound healers to have a voice, right? The pioneers,
Mhm.
because we just knew everybody was gonna wanna be, doing this. We were all just waking up to that, the power of sound for healing, right?
And it's magical that you moved out of New York and this guy, this creator is right in your neighborhood. So that was kind of a very intuitively guided idea that you had to get out of New York and move up here.
I know, yeah, I feel like we're always guided, right, to I think.
Yes, we are. If we're willing to listen, we
Yes, well,
are.
that's the whole thing, right? The deep
Yeah.
listening. Yeah, doesn't matter
So
what we're listening to, it's kind of, circles back to what I was saying in the beginning. It kinda doesn't matter what you're listening to. The point is to listen. That's what brings us to this place of presence and stillness, which is, what all the gurus and rishis say is what, it's all about down here, just being in the present moment. And that's probably why sound healing works so well for people because, they've brought themselves to this place where this is what's happening, and their minds aren't rolling around too much. Sometimes they are, but for the most part, a drone sound can't be followed by the mind. So the mind lets go, and then we have this feeling of deep relaxation because you're totally in the present moment. It's not following the bouncing ball.
that makes a lot of sense. Well, and it disconnects us from that ego clinging to reality. This is
Yeah,
all I know is I'm sitting here with this computer and I have my pen. I'm in control. No,
exactly. No,
you're not in
you said it.
control.
You just said it. You just said it. You did. Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
got John Boyer involved and you started doing retreats? Is that what happened?
Yeah, yeah, so we created what we call the Sound Healing Retreat Intensive at Menla, and the first one was probably in 2010. And John, he did that retreat with us. The funny thing is, it used to be Pathworks up there, and he used to
Right, right.
work he was like, "Oh, you picked the barn to do the retreat." He's like, "That's where we used to work." So, like, for him, it was also a full circle moment of, like, so many years he had worked out of that barn when it was Pathwork. So he was so happy to come home to that. So, yeah, we had John Bullier, we had Richard Rudis, Mitch Nur,
Wow.
Tito La Rosa, all these, pioneers of sound come through over many, many years there. Sylvia Nakash, Grandmother Three Crow, that Dr. Mitch Gaynor, who's no longer with us, but he was that oncologist, the first oncologist in the medical field to actually use sound bowls to
Yes,
facilitate.
I'm
Yeah.
familiar with him. Yeah, and you probably cross paths with all the indigenous groups that are up here who do a lot of, very sacred healing rituals. Is sound healing something in all, is it a worldwide event, an ongoing worldwide event, sound healing in all cultures? Do you know?
Oh, definitely. Like, we're really just remembering this is not anything new. It starts with the indigenous, peoples for sure. They just knew how to listen to the land and listen to the spirits and commune. And, they were given, songs, and they were given, instruments to work on, specific, maladies that people would have. Like, the shamans were the medicine people in their communities, and they would heal not only physically, but they would, just through sound, would be able to go and receive information for the tribes and whatever was needed. So yeah, we're definitely just remembering all of that, and it was woken in us here in the West through our indigenous teachers, from Peru, right? And during those ceremonies, and we thought it was something new, but it actually is not anything new. But, like, we're creative, beings, so we're gonna take it and we're gonna make it our own. And, we like to grow and learn. So there's a modern take on it. And, everybody has a, different way of approaching it. But I would say as long as you're, the tuning fork and you're grounded and centered and in alignment, you can make a terrible sound and people are still going to have a good experience.
Well, I'm gonna say I'm very leery of, a newly trained sound healer. I would choose you, because it's such a powerful tool. There's so many communities, we have this kind of, laugh about, somebody gets a little awakened and they wanna become a therapist, and you're like, "Not no, don't do it, don't do it. You're you'll be fine, but don't do that. It won't have much to offer." I think what you're bringing, it comes from an ancient chord. It's not, I just did this training, and I wanna say I've done the training. I've learned a huge amount with you and your group, and I'm so appreciative of it, and I would never just sell what I do because it's something I think to be someone who understands the vibration and the values and how to incorporate them in a way that invites healing to the body and not trauma. That's a subtle art. I think that's a subtle art.
It is true. I mean, I'm also, a yoga teacher. So, there's an understanding of the body. There's also a whole component of sound called nada yoga, in that field as well. And then the mantras and what they do. Yeah, there's definitely a lot at my age to integrate. It's a skill set. John
Mhm.
likes to say, my teacher, that we integrate. A lot of us have a skill set. I'll never forget when I was training to be a yoga teacher, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And another yoga teacher said, but you're already doing it. You're a craniosacral therapist, and it's the same thing. You just bringing this energy. It's all energy. You're just bringing your energy to whatever it is that you're offering. I find it so interesting that I really am tuning into that right now, like, because I just finished a
So
training.
let's date you. Let's date you now that you said at my age. You've opened the door. I'll share.
If
I'm
I
saying
tell you, nobody will date me, so
Well, no, it's okay. Well, no, we want don't you just want quality people that accept you as you completely are, Leah? And
I do.
if you don't answer, it's okay. No,
I'm joking. I get plenty of dates. It's okay.
I'm sure you're a very you're a spark plug. I think a lot and you have that whole feminine mystique going on, I have to say. Let's see, I'm 67, okay?
You are not.
Yes, I am.
Get out of town.
I
You look
am.
amazing.
Thank you. So and it's, my it's all the drugs in my 20s that kept the preservatives going. But yeah, I'm a full-assed adult. I'm a full-grown adult. And I guess you're a lot younger. I think you're younger than me. So that's what I'm going to say to the audience. She's significantly younger.
Well, don't forget the FIT early on, and my mom
Oh,
was
that's good. Yep.
my mom was very stylish, honestly, like, she loved to party and dress up and go out and shop, so I'm sure I've definitely inherited that from her as well.
Oh, good, good. But Leah's a one of a kind. Believe
Oh,
me.
thank you.
Believe me.
That's
Yeah,
that's very
for sure.
sweet.
For
That's really
sure.
sweet.
So I got us out of that. So now you run this academy and tell us more about what you're offering there. And I've been there and on a Saturday night, that's my favorite session you do, 8 p.m. But
I've been
you have things during the week, but I like personally to go to the ones you're running. I do. I love what you do.
Thank you. Well, so there is actually 3 things we do out of here, 4 things really. Um And like you were saying, the events on new moon, full moon, Saturday evenings at 7 o'clock are something that's consistent. And that is either a full on gong bath journey or ceremony. I like to, approach the sound as a ceremony since that's how I learned it. So there's always, a beginning with a strong intention. Also, the intention is for the healing, for the group, for the highest good, whatever may come. But also, I like to use sprays and smoke, healing sprays and smokes to help clear the physical field and the emotional, spiritual bodies. I just believe that, like, as a craniosacral therapist, we're taught that, things come into the field before they jump into the body somatically. So if we could take care of the outer before it comes in. So that's a strong intention that's always on my mind when I'm beginning. And then we're drawing down the energies of the moons, which is very powerful because we're in a cosmic, court here that we're part of, very much a part of, that we forget. So we remember that and those energies. And like I said, those are evenings. And then we do a Sunday sound journey. Usually, what time is that? Noon to 1 most Sundays. And sometimes I do a lot of those these days, but Emma, who's a really amazingly qualified sound practitioner herself, because she's so, I wanna say pure, like, in her heart, she's a very loving heart. I tell you, I whenever I'm in her sound bath, I feel like so much is happening and shifting, and so many people say that about her.
Yeah, I think my first session was with Emma, so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I adore
she's
her.
really lovely, yeah, she brings a lot.
She really, really does, and that's not nothing, to just be able to have people with integrity in this field that really, I don't know, they just bring their whole heart, and I love that, and she does that, and those are the kinds of people I like to try and bring into the sangha here. So the other things that we do are trainings. I do 6 trainings a year between May and October, and they're in the 3 main areas of sound. They're modules that are basically just repeated after 3. So the first 3 are between May, June, and July, and then the next 3, which are the same modules, repeated through October. And they're weekends, and they're, as you know, you took one of them, and I mean, they're different every time, right? Because the energy is different, the amount of people that come are different. I just started doing all of this in Woodstock down in the yoga studio and sometimes up in my space, and where I used to do them all at Menla, but they were just getting way too big, and it was just too much. So I wanted to create a smaller group, give more attention, and I have to say I love it. Yeah.
So how many people did you host there last time? Do you know about how many
At
people?
Menla?
No, no, at the studio, at the yoga studio.
Oh, I like 20. 20 is a good,
Oh, that's a nice group.
it's a good
Yeah.
number. Like, Menla was like 45, like, that was just too much. It was fun,
That was
believe me.
huge.
It
Yeah, I
was
went to
you were at
Menla.
yeah, you were at some of the Menla ones, but it was great, but this is, I don't know, just really, and I'm at my home base, and,
Well,
it's
it's more
wonderful.
I think it's more intimate for the people connecting too. I think
Yeah.
that's a great size group. So when you I've been to your shop, you have this great if anyone's you have to check out her shop at, Sage Center in Woodstock. Just amazing instruments that you offer for sale, which I think are hard to find. Tell us a little bit about those instruments, please.
Yes, well, so if I'm training people in this, I like them to have, really good stuff to buy and to use. So I've been working with, certain makers of things for many, many, many years, and I've made mistakes, and I just know what's good and what's not in the world of sound. So yeah, it's funny. Some of my students call me their sound dealer.
I wanna say, yes, come into town, get your score your vape, whatever you like to however you like your THC or however you ingest this, but go to get your hit of vibrational sound. Hit your that's the real healing.
It really is, and I'm glad you brought that up because what I would have teachers helping me out for these weekends, and I had a really strict, like, no weed policy or, mushrooms, whatever drugs people like to do. I don't think they're drugs. I mean, they're plant, they're
They're
medicines.
medicine, right, right.
Sound is the medicine, and that's the thing, like, it really is. It does the same exact thing for
Well,
us.
there's the chemistry of our individual body is you keep the integrity of that because you're not altering it with substance. And in that integral space, which is I think why, I'm a practicing Buddhist and there's no drugs or alcohol. You just that's not part of the menu. Because if you're not aligning in this self with all of your flow, you're working with irregular you're working with the vague irregularities that happen when you take something. It's not the real thing. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not the root. You're not at the root. So
Yeah, good.
do you have so you did you raise this child? Your first husband? You moved with to be close? Is this someone
Yeah,
is he
yeah. Yeah,
Oh, good. Is he in the is he local?
he's not, he's living in Queens, I think, right now, unless he moved. Yeah, he's out in the city, and his mom is still up here, and we're friends. But yeah, yeah, we had an amazing family life, so that was
Oh,
great.
that's
Yeah,
great. That's
yeah, but
great.
he wanted to move back to France and start this whole deal over there and be closer to his family because he'd been living in the States forever and ever, so it was just, time to have a break and everybody do their own thing, and I'm really happy.
And you were good. You were good with that.
He's really good with that.
I've had several of those happy endings too, so
Yeah.
so when we come to Woodstock, I'm a visitor, I'm only here for a weekend because people do that all the time up here,
Yes.
and it's so gorgeous here, and if you had one of those events at the Sage Academy to go to, which would you recommend a new person starts with?
Either whatever fits their schedule. I think they're both amazing times. The evening is more of, like an evening vibe. So, it's dark and maybe you might feel a little more internal.
Right, and aren't you next to the Indian our great Indian restaurant?
Yes, and Sylvia's like, so we get all the smells.
You get great smells, great essences. In fact, our and what is the Indian restaurant name again? It's,
Nirvana.
Nirvana. My friends call it Indian adjacent food. It's not
It is so
it's
good.
not it's like a modified version, but it's delicious, and yes, you have naan, don't worry, you won't give up your naan.
No, they're fantastic. It's so Sylvia. They're 2 of my favorite restaurants, and they're right here.
That's such a great spot. So I would invite people, definitely encourage people to find you. Now, have you written a book about what you have
I'm
learned
actually
in your
working on a
life?
book. I'm trying to work on a book, but I there's just so much I'm working on.
Oh,
There's always
tell us about this process. I have a 3-year, love-hate relationship with my book too, so
well,
tell me about yours.
well, it's, like, so nowhere. I have, like, little scraps of paper. That's how I've always done my creative process with writing and, painting, whatever, little notes on things, and I just have a folder, and, anytime I get an idea, I write it down and, I just put it in there, and there's a lot of components to the books. I want it to be a short book. I don't want it to be a big book, but I want it to be inspiring because,
Good.
that's all these sound baths are really also just a inspiration.
Inspiration. Yeah, that's a wonderful word for it. Yeah. And my book is transforming from a year in an office I rented in town to write the outline, which I did.
Oh, good.
It's a very short book, 120 pages, modeled after a Pema Chodron style. It's, to the point.
Mine is Thich Nhat Hanh, that's how I would love
There,
it to
that's so interesting.
very, to the point. Yes.
I just wanna give you a real shot of how to live and enlighten yourself. Go for it. Don't wait, don't stop. So along that journey of my own looking for myself, finding myself, I say I have found myself, and she's great and a mess all at the same time.
Yes.
I keep looking for that extra attunement, in life, and you're part of that.
Thank
You
you.
yeah, there's just I have a need to bring back those essential vibrations and not get lost in the mess of the world. So I have a request. Can we all travel to the building that's being torn down currently in Washington and do a sound healing for everyone there?
Wait, what building is that?
A little sound healing. Something could get better. Anything can get better, right? It's
Well, my gong
possible.
teacher, Don Conroe, his vision, and he's about, oh god, probably about he's in his 90s now, mid-90s, I would say, but, his whole vision for that, shift is that when everybody they melt down all the guns and all the metals used for war and then, remake them into gongs, and everybody plays a gong, then we'll have the 100th monkey thing where everything just shifts.
Well, yeah, but I have my vision, and I'll share it. My
What
vision is if we all give permission to ourselves to bring the essential information we were born to bring, which comes in many forms, millions and billions of forms, like yours and mine are so different. If we contribute that drop of wisdom, that's essentially how the puzzle is solved. So, because it's this piece of the puzzle that's missing when we're not all giving ourselves to this energy field of the human condition. Um, yeah, that's part of my rap.
Well, yeah, but, yeah, get a gong.
Get a gong, get a crystal bowl. So you have bowls, gongs, shrutis,
Yes,
right?
Shruti box.
Tell us what a shruti box is, because most people don't know.
Well, it's the offshoot of a harmonium. If you know the harmonium, it's used in, kirtan. It's a really big instrument, with a bellows and a keyboard, and the Shruti box is an offshoot of that, and it just has the bellows, and they have, holes that can be opened to create a chord. Uh, but you don't have to have any musical ability to do that because it has a fundamental chord, each box, right? From, say, C, G to high C. You just need to leave it on that and you could practice all your voices, you know?
Right, and if anyone doesn't understand that, you can go online and listen to a shruti. You can look up
Right.
shruti, and you can listen to the sound that it makes, which is amazing, and most of us have had some exposure to that.
I
And then you
think.
have all kinds of rattles. Don't you have these amazing
I do.
rattles?
Yeah, those
Yeah.
would be in the indigenous sound category. So there's rattles and shakapa, which is like a leafy instrument and, indigenous to Peru. And that's a really gentle rattle, actually, that the curanderos or the medicine man would use right on a body to move energy in a very gentle way. and to tune up your nervous system, basically. And
Hmm.
out of all the sounds, oh my god, that's the one that everybody's like, "What was that sound?" Because your eyes are closed in a sound bath when you're laying down in
Hmm.
general. Um, so that's really those are great for clearing. I have, there sounds like bird sounds and frog sounds that we might bring in for, like, a real forest, you know. We do the, sound bath, for New Year's Eve at Menlo for, Bob Thurman's and Krishna Das, that whole big retreat that they do there. There's often like 100 people there. We'll bring in the sounds and people feel like, "Oh my god, we were just in the forest. I felt like I was in the rainforest." But I use the little bells and
It's
chimes.
fantastic.
I mean, all kinds
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Wow. Well, there's so many beautiful instruments from all the different cultures, and you know how to use them. Is there anything you wanted to share that we haven't talked about? Because Leah is, I think you have an amazing skill, and you bring this healing that I'm not surprised exists in our wonderful little beautiful town of Woodstock, New York. You know, there's an accumulation of energy here that I found from the field of the Catskill Mountains, the reservoir water. There's a magnet force here that takes us out of our fear and just brings it back down.
I mean, it is amazing. Do you know when the, Dalai Lama came here and he did that impromptu talk, like, all those years ago? I don't know if you were
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
you would have been
Mhm.
here. And, he I don't know if you remember, but he said, "This town," he's like, "it's gonna be a magnet for healing. You'll see," he's like, "thousands of people will come here. They're gonna be drawn to these mountains," and I think that's true. If we have both seen how the town has changed since we started, right? Like, oh
Oh,
my
it's unbelievable
it's
how
amazing.
it's
Yeah.
exploded, but it hasn't gotten overpopulated, which I'm so grateful for. You know, we don't have any high-rise buildings, for instance.
Oh, well, I think that Woodstock is very, very adamant about their building, policies. They don't allow a lot. And in fact, I did a fire ceremony at my friend's land just off of, Glenford Wittenberg Road. And we were on this property and he took us up into this like, that's part of the land that he has there. And you look and there's no houses and it's beautiful.
Ooh,
And
we gotta keep
I
that a
noticed that,
secret. I'm cutting that from the show. No, I'm kidding.
but it's so
I don't want
interesting.
people to know.
No, no, I know, well, they won't let you build, so don't come,
I love no,
just
come
visit.
no, come visit and get healed and get attuned. Yes, please do. Please come. I
Yeah,
would never we're so welcoming here. Everyone is friendly. We really are.
we really are, it's a great town, I love this town, I really do,
I
but I
do too.
especially love mountains, and I love that the peace and the stillness that you can still find here, it's pretty
Hmm.
incredible, actually.
It is. I mean, even walk past the center of town and you're on the Cuomo and you're in a forest. You know,
I know.
you can take a hike by the stream and pick and see, you know, gorgeous old stream rocks whittled down by the water moving over them for hundreds of years. So
Yeah, it's
Leah,
gorgeous.
I'm going to continue to dive into sound healing with you whenever I can. I'm so grateful that you could do this for us today.
Thank you.
And I want people to know about the website. Where do they go? What's the name of the website?
It's sageacademyofsound.com, and, yeah, you can
Okay.
find everything's listed and registrations and so forth there.
Yes, and please go there. So I look forward to working with you more, getting myself, well, I don't think I do this at all by myself. Having the creating an opening in my life to allow others, yourself, to bring the energy into my field, to create this. I really find it a cataclysmic shift out of the ordinary into the extraordinary. That's a
Yes, thank you. I do too. Like I said, when I lay down for a good sound bath, like I am just so blown away. Because I mean, you're doing sound yourself, you're definitely healing yourself, you're healing others, but it's very different when you're laying down. You're in that yin state of just receiving in the darkness and just allowing the sounds to work through you. The mystery. Let's let the mystery work through us. And that's something that we just don't do anymore because we're too young, we're too active. We've let go of all of that. We're afraid of that energy. So we're bringing that back more than anything else, right? We're balancing that. So that's
yes, to bring back that balance.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important. So
Mm.
thank you, Leah. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Tara. Thanks.
We appreciate you. I say we as in like all the guides that are around us.
Will I
And
see you this weekend for
I
sound?
don't Is there a sound I have
There
I
is.
if it well, then I'll be there. Yes, I'm gonna be there. Thank you. So
Okay,
when
good.
I look forward to this to the continuation of the transformation, there's such an important element of the work you do and that I'm doing is that we're helping the kind of the tribal shift to a wholeness. That's I think we all if you have any information to help us, please bring it out into the world now, right? Bring it now.
Exactly. We all we need it so bad.
We do. All right, Leo, I'll see you
Okay.
soon, okay?
All right, Kara, thank you so
Thank
much. Have a good
thank
rest of your
you.
day.
You
Okay,
too. Bye.
bye.
We want to thank the following people. Jennifer Maidman for original music. Listen to her on iTunes and Spotify. True English of Upstate Podcast Studio for sound and recording engineering. And all our executive producers. See you next time.